Hi diddly ho neighbors, and welcome to an extra giggity-inducing episode of Versus, hosted by me, Mark Ellis. You may remember me from such shows as RoboCop vs. Terminator and Nicolas Cage vs. John Travolta. But today, it's an all-out battle between two amazing American animated programs, The Simpsons vs. Family Guy. In one corner, you have Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, Maggie, and the rest of the Springfield gang. Okay, fine, a few Shelbyville stragglers might show up, taking on Quahog's finest, maybe not finest family. Peter, Lois, Brian, Stewie, Chris, and shut up, Meg, plus their lovable neighborhood cohorts. It's the show that completely revolutionized animation, television, and comedy in one fell dough, taking on the cartoon that loves controversy just as much as it adores cutaways. Like that time I got fired from being a stormtrooper. No, we don't, have that footage apparently. Here's how we'll determine a winner. Round 1, ratings. Round 2, Tomatometer / Audience Score. Round 3, iconic characters. Round 4, best episodes. And then we'll do a wild card round to settle the score. And I'll be honest, Family Guy is probably hoping to win a round here. It might be my most watched show, but The Simpsons is, I'd say, the Goliath of TV shows, but it's more accurate to equate it with being the whole damn Bible. Sorry I swore. It changed everything. Is it too late to team up Family Guy with South Park and Rick and Morty? Poor Peter thought battling Ernie the Chicken was rough. This is gonna be a doozy. Let's get it on.
I'm saying the Simpsons suck.
Why, you?
Round 1, rating. Times have changed, and so has the ratings metric as a measure of success for a TV show. Nowadays, the best of the small screen would do well to get a fraction of what it used to. The advent of streaming services and physical media have all but guaranteed that both of these shows will never again reach their previous heights, unless The Simpsons finally decides to hang it up, which they haven't through over 30 seasons of comedic brilliance. It was those first few years of being a new and somewhat controversial show in the early 1990s that saw its biggest ratings boom. Through its first 4 seasons, the show never dipped below 21.8 million viewer averages per season. And as the 90s carried on, The Simpsons found a new cruising altitude around the 13 to 15 million viewer range. By comparison, this past decade has seen its average ratings peak at 5 million sets of eyeballs per year. And it's been in this last 10 years that Family Guy has emerged as a credible ratings competitor to its, older brother / rival show. While its most recent season saw returns of just 2.65 million average viewers, Family Guy is only a few years removed from consistently earning 5 to 7 million folks tuning in each and every week. And remember that 1990s era ratings boom ushered in by The Simpsons? Yeah, Family Guy only caught a tiny glimpse of that in its heyday. Its first season in 1999 is still the best ratings performance in the history of the show, nabbing 12.8 million viewers on average, largely bolstered by a clutch premiere after Super Bowl 33. That episode, it was much better than the football game preceding it. If only the Minnesota Vikings could have made that chip shot field goal.
All right, and nobody's blocking.
Family Guy does draw some blood in this round based on its resurrection after languishing in multiple time slot switches. Fox had pulled the plug on the show entirely until the first wave of DVD sales came through. Fans showed up in such force to own their new beloved animated series that the network gave it another chance at life, which has continued to this very day. But sometimes humble beginnings make for a more rock-solid foundation. While Family Guy had a Super Bowl audience and weeks of playoff hype to capitalize on, The Simpsons started out as a crudely drawn segment on The Tracy Ullman Show. But once it earned itself a spin-off series, the rest was history. To date, The Simpsons' total average viewers per season across all 32 of them is a mind-boggling 11.3 million. Meanwhile, Family Guy's 19 seasons have earned a very respectable 6.2 million average viewers per year. Like I said, it's going to be tough for the Griffin gang to get a point in today's matchup, and it's not going to arrive in the ratings category. They put up a tough fight, and even if we were tied up to this point, The Simpsons could lob in the fact that their 2007 movie raked in over $500 million worldwide. Ratings are nice, cold hard cash is better. And that cast knows a thing or two about money. The Simpsons take round 1, and it's 1-0. Round 2, Tomatometer / Audience Score. Family Guy does have a puncher's chance at evening the score here, simply based on the fact that we're talking about both critic and audience metrics in this round. The masses supported them once by buying so many DVDs that the studio took notice. Can they come through in the clutch once again to lay a finger on Bart's Butterfinger? It's possible.
Okay, what the
Family Guy's first 3 seasons are all fresh, according to the audience score, all landing right at 75%. Across all seasons, the Griffins stay fresh at 62%. Their overall Tomatometer average is even more brilliant, landing at 72.2%. That number is largely bolstered by seasons 11 and 16's perfect 100% rating. Pretty impressive for a program whose inaugural season is rotten on the Tomatometer at just 46%. So how about those Springfield residents who've been going strong so long, we can remember when it was the fashion to wear an onion on your belt? They're beloved. Like, a lot. Across the board. Both the audience score and Tomatometer averages best their pesky upstarts from Quahog, as all 32 seasons of The Simpsons averaged 76% on the audience score and 85% on the Tomatometer. The audience apparently loved seasons 6 through 8 the most, as all 3 averaged 97%. If that still doesn't impress you, then I hope you're sitting down. Seasons 1 through 10 of The Simpsons are all a perfect 100% on the Tomatometer, except for season 9, which for some reason landed at 67%. Was that the Who Shot Mr. Burns season? What gives? The team got close to another perfect season in 2017 as they landed at 99% fresh on the Tomatometer. Okay, so The Simpsons has another big lead, but before Peter, Joe, Cleveland, and Quagmire head to the clam to drown their sorrows, I will point out that Family Guy has a higher floor than The Simpsons. Remember how I said 46% was Family Guy's first season on the Tomatometer? That's as low as they got for all 19 seasons thus far. Meanwhile, The Simpsons fell all the way down to 33% for season 24. Is that the one where Maggie... No, I almost ruined the ending. Whew! And I think the answer is no anyway, so we'll move on. Hold your head up high, you denizens of Quahog. You've given a hearty effort through 2 rounds. But unfortunately, it is once again The Simpsons who are celebrating a round 2 win at Flaming Moe's. Please take the fries off Moe's head, they're very hot. Simpsons gets the win and goes up 2-0 over the Griffins.
I'm a billionaire!
Round 3, iconic characters. Since math is nearly impossible after 8th grade, I've taken the liberty of making the calculation that these 2 shows have combined for over 50 seasons worth of quality entertainment. And what is the secret sauce that keeps us coming back for more adventures in Springfield and Quahog? Why, it's the town citizens that make those communities whole, of course. Starting with the namesake family in The Simpsons, it's hard to imagine a more iconic cast of characters all under one roof than Homer, Marge, and their shorts-eating, sacks-breathing, passy-sucking kids. Taking a cue from sitcoms since the dawn of time, it's Marge that truly runs the homestead as she deftly sidesteps the tomfoolery from her sophomoric husband, all while mothering 3 kids to various degrees of success. That sound familiar, Family Guy? The real achievement in that is how much more we still connect with Homer and Marge than virtually any other television couple before or since. Lucy and Desi had their moments, but the Simpsons parents have us running the full gamut of emotions just watching them try to keep their home ship as tight as can be.
Always be yourself. You want to be sad, honey? Be sad. We'll write it out with you.
If The Simpsons sinks its teeth into the mom rules the roost premise, Family Guy just bites it right off. Lois is clearly in charge, despite Peter's insanely juvenile shenanigans, the biggest difference being that The Simpsons usually attempt some sort of teaching moment for Homer within the episode. For Peter, it's usually a quick mea culpa without him ever really learning a lesson.
Ugh, whatever.
In both families, their 3-child household featured one kid that took off with the masses thanks to their barely network TV appropriate behavior and merchandisable catchphrases. Did I just invent a word? Merchandisable? Bart Simpson knows a little something about that. His famous catchphrases like "Don't have a cow, man" largely inspired the Family Guy's baby Stewie to exclaim, "What the deuce?" for the very first time. And while The Simpsons' young and Maggie has barely a word in the show's history, I'm willing to bet she's already more astute than Chris Griffin. As for Meg and Lisa, well, as much as Homer can be sometimes intimidated by Lisa's remarkable intellect, he still allows her to feel loved and appreciated. Meg? Not so much. I fought it in your cereal. Family Guy's starring Homestead might not be quite on a par with The Simpsons. However, that doesn't include the pets. Brian Griffin scores major points as a dog who can not only talk, but is one of the best parts of the show, whether it's him and Stewie going on misadventures or Brian's pseudo-intellectual abilities getting him in over his head. Pseudo-intellectual is definitely a word that Brian would use to sound smart like I just did. Neither one of us actually know what it means. I've actually been rereading a lot of books recently.
What's a rainbow's process? 2 parts rain, 1 part sun?
So let's move out of the home and into the streets of these towns to find the true spice of these respective shows. One of the biggest attractions of both programs week after week is seeing who else is going to pop in to offer a witty line or a juicy subplot. Peter's drinking buddies do more than that, sometimes much, much more than that, on a regular basis. Joe, Cleveland, and Quagmire round out the 4 Musketeers, and their combined idiocy is frequently a riot that is equal parts offensive and hilarious. I'd give them the point over Homer's regular drinking buddies, although Barney Gumble and bartender Mo Sizlak certainly have provided more than their share of giggles over the decades. In fact, since so many of the townsfolk in Quahog have roots in similar characters from The Simpsons, let's see how they fare in a few head-to-head matchups. Mayor Adam West versus Mayor Joe is a tight race indeed. Joe Quimby is a hilarious farce of a Kennedy, but isn't quite as regular and nowhere near as random as Adam West. For sheer surprise as to what's going to spill out of his mouth next, I'm going with the former Batman.
Nobody messes with Adam Wee.
Moving on to evil billionaires, we have Montgomery Burns taking on Carter Pewterschmidt. Even Family Guy jokes about how Carter sounds exactly like Dr. Hartman. And while I am giving Hartman the nod over the Simpsons doctors, this is easily a win for Mr. Boo Earns. Carter has some great one-liners as he staunchly refuses to accept change or progress, but Mr. Burns' devious side stories have given Simpsons fans some of the most memorable moments in the history of the show. From Three-Eyed Fish to getting shot to blocking out the sun, Mr. Burns takes the cake. Plus, he's the reason we know Smithers. Apu at the Quickie Mart is a staple of past seasons, but recently came under fire with the great documentary The Trouble with Apu. It's a well-reasoned argument that the character is a little more than just a tired stereotype, so I can dock The Simpsons some points for being offensive, although being offensive seems to be a central goal to most Family Guy jokes.
Nice throw, Casey Anthony.
I'll give newscasters to Tom Tucker and old creeps to Herbert. Big celebrities are definitely led by Troy McClure, and real celebrities? Well, let's just say The Simpsons has had some of the most famous folks ever to walk the earth be honored as a guest on their show. Family Guy has Adam West and a bunch of fake voices, we think. Family Guy loves making fun of my other sport, stand-up comedy. Everyone from Quagmire to Brian to an actual lower torso has attempted telling jokes on stage, and while it almost always hits home for me, no one singular force has emerged in Quahog to rival the ultimate entertainer in Springfield, Krusty the Clown. The Simpsons writers love utilizing Krusty for any and all showbiz-related gripes, and it's a treat for the audience every time. We could go on for days, and I'd love to do an entire versus episode on who would win a winner-take-all brawl between Groundskeeper Willie and Ernie the Chicken, but the recurring theme in this round seems to be that the Simpsons tend to have more fleshed-out characters, even with less screen time, than some of their Family Guy contemporaries. And would we have many of those lovable Quahog side players without the Simpsons creating those archetypes? Even the nicest neighbor in the world, Ned Flanders, could see that once again, the Simpsons get the win in round 3. They're up 3-0, and Family Guy is still looking for a leg to hump to get a dry martini.
Oh, honey, honey, do.
Round 4, best episodes. So I've spent the better part of this here program yapping about legacy, time, influence, and all that other jazz that makes Bleeding Gums Murphy smile. But in this round, it's about the cream of the crop, the top of the heap, the Eric Roberts starring in Best of the Best. I'll take a smattering of each show's most beloved 22-minute chapters and see who has what it takes to get a point. We'll start with the show that is still looking to get on the scoreboard. As a fan of Family Guy for its entire run, yes, I did rush out to Circuit City and buy the first DVD set. Or maybe it was Borders, I can't remember. The show has been through 2 main phases. Phase 1 only lasted for maybe 2 seasons, where most episodes would attempt some sort of heartfelt resolution after all the wackiness that ensued, kind of like that other famous Fox cartoon. Phase 2 is still running strong to this day, where no actual emotions need apply, and we instead rely on a week-long break to rectify all of the insanity and offensiveness we just witnessed. Both phases have some gems, but the way this show kicked off with its premiere episode is definitely one of the best in its storied history. Taking the ball from John Elway's swan song immediately after Super Bowl 33, Family Guy debuted with high-flying, fast-paced, cutaway-loaded jokes that saw Peter actually end up at the big game. Not since the HBO show Dream On. Remember that, kids? Brian Ben? Anyone? had the world witnessed so many random jokes and references sprinkled into a sitcom format. The only issue with that premise was the incredibly high bar it set for the rest of the season. Nothing else in season 1 could match the potency of its kickoff, an episode so famous in Family Guy lore that a decade later, another Family Guy would see Stewie and Brian go back in time to witness those events all over again. Death being laid up with a busted ankle at the Griffin residence was another early highlight in season 2, as was the very first Peter versus the Chicken battle that same year. The show gradually became more risque with the humor it was attempting, even having the network pull the plug on airing season 3's When You Wish Upon a Weinstein. Whether you consider this humor to be pushing the envelope or spilling the contents of the envelope all over the floor, once Family Guy returned thanks to overwhelming demand, it was a very different show from when it began. But the comedic genius of Seth MacFarlane and company was still evident, as seen in episodes like Road to the Multiverse, where Stewie and Brian stumble upon alternate universes, including one where the role of dogs and humans are reversed. A running gag that has lasted since opening night would be Stewie doing his damnedest to kill his mom, Lois. This storyline headlined the epic two-parter Stewie Kills Lois / Lois Kills Stewie. Family Guy loves every opportunity to experiment with different storytelling scenarios, like when there's a murder mystery at a creepy mansion a la Clue, or when they do a fan mail episode that features a few short vignettes. The chances they take don't always pay off, especially with the few inexplicably long sequences of musical numbers, but when they do, it produces some of the finest work in franchise history, like in Season 2, The Road to Rhode Island. Brian heads to LA to retrieve Stewie, but the duo is forced to travel back across the country primarily by train, where they put aside their adversarial nature to perform a memorable and shockingly heartfelt tune on top of a moving locomotive.
I'm with an intellectual who craps inside his pants. How dare you?
That episode is a perfect summation of MacFarlane's love of show tunes and his biting wit, and might just be the best work Family Guy has yet to accomplish. But I'd also be remiss if I didn't say there's a few more episodes that always seem to happen when the power goes out. Now look, I'm a huge Star Wars honk, and making fun of my beloved saga has proven to be a tricky task over the years. Spaceballs and countless other parodies have done a magnificent job at this, but only the great live shows Star Wars in 30 Minutes and Family Guy actually got official praise from the creator himself, Mr. George Lucas. The original trilogy got the Family Guy treatment, kicking off with Blue Harvest, and to this day, seeing Han, Peter, and Chewie Brian trying to wedge a couch into the Millennium Falcon during a Death Star shootout tickles me like few gags ever have.
Ah, for Christ, oh, it's wedged! It's wedged!
Spawned only 10 years earlier than Family Guy, yet from an entirely different era, would be The Simpsons, a show whose animation quality improved dramatically in its formative years to quickly deliver so many great episodes that fans to this day still hold up as the gold standard. If Family Guy had trouble following its debut night, The Simpsons might still be trying to figure out how to top its first decade. In that time, the show solidified its perfect blend of humor and family. In a time when many parents and schools wanted to ban The Simpsons from their precious children's minds, the show was somehow teaching us all how vital a family can be. Even one that is severely dysfunctional and has a kid who says, "I'm Bart Simpson, who the hell are you?" Season 2's The Way We Was paints a sweet portrait of Homer and Marge's courtship, and even though it was somewhat retconned many years later, it still holds up as proof that an animated show can make us howl with laughter and tug on our heartstrings. Just be careful using an onion ring as an engagement band. All you new couples out there, take note. The Simpsons could do straightforward episodes loaded with cameos like Homer at the Bat, where Mr. Burns recruits an actual big league team to juice up his company squad, as long as they shave their sideburns. Or it could go more off the walls, as when a guy claiming he's Michael Jackson shows up in Springfield. He was actually a bricklayer from Paterson, New Jersey.
Lisa, it's your birthday.
But the show might be at its best when it's following the loose storyline of another classic, such as Deep Space Homer, a nod to 2001: A Space Odyssey, or when Mr. Burns re-examines his childhood, a la Citizen Kane with Rosebud. And I'd have to point towards a classic Sideshow Bob appearance in Cape Fear, based on the... well, you get it. While Family Guy is rightfully celebrated for being able to incorporate sweeping musical numbers in its madcap mayhem, it was once again The Simpsons who, did it first. One of the all-time great episodes ties in The Music Man for Marge versus the Monorail. A traveling swindler voiced by the irreplaceable Phil Hartman proposes a monorail for Springfield, and hilarious singing chaos ensues. If we're talking about all-time great episodes for these two factions, I'd be remiss to not point out their friendly rivalry crossovers that might have seen a few hatchets buried even as they took a lot of shots at one another. But for my money, the best episode in either franchise is another crossover event, when John Lovitz's The Critic made his way to Springfield for a film festival. Everyone in town seemingly submitted a short film, and the variety of movies is a perfect representation of the varying ways The Simpsons can get a rise out of us. There's a simple approach with a man getting hit in the groin with a football, starring George C. Scott. Next up is a high-concept tragic play pulled off by Barney Gumble. Family Guy has grown into a show that excels at being hilariously offensive and increasingly unsympathetic to its own characters, but The Simpsons' best episodes prove that you can do some of that without losing all of your animated humanity. No, that's not the crowd booing our beloved Springfield residents. They are saying boo earns. The Simpsons wins another round and remain perfect through 4. Can Family Guy finally get a W in the last round? It is, after all, the wild card round.
Ay, caramba!
Idly hope. Excellent.
All right, here comes the wild card round. What makes Mark laugh harder? I'm very selfish. Yep, Family Guy gets one more crack at avoiding the first ever skunk in Versus history, and the odds are decent based on how many knees I've slapped over the years giggity-ing to myself. This round is as simple as it sounds, because after all the decades and cultural influence and controversies and salary negotiations, why did these shows ever get created in the first place? Easy. Matt Groening and Seth MacFarlane just wanted to entertain us. And I think I speak for literally all of my comedian brethren when I say that without The Simpsons, we might not have developed a sense of humor at all, much less made a career out of it. And from the first time I stumbled upon a show in 6th grade that had a lot of animated characters wisecracking to each other, it became a weekly check-in as to just how funny a premise could be, how far a joke could be taken, and how to wrap it all up in a concise storytelling narrative. And when I looked around the living room, I'd see this show was not only able to make me laugh, but my parents, siblings, and all my friends whose parents didn't let them watch it, so they came over to my house for stovetop stuffing and the first family of Springfield. Seeing Bart reenact the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark, complete with Homer as the giant boulder, remains one of the hardest laughs my family ever shared. And to spread that Lucasfilm wealth evenly, Homer accidentally ruins The Empire Strikes Back for a line of excited moviegoers, and it pretty much had the entire clan of Ellises in stitches. And it was also a hysterical harbinger as to spoiler alerts that are now all too common to our movie-going experience.
Thank you, Mr. Blow the Picture for me.
But even after giving The Simpsons well-earned victories in every round thus far, I can also admit that my personal feeling of the show is that it has never regained its comedic gold found in its first decade heyday. Maybe it was the writing staff or the premises, or my personal theory that losing Phil Hartman took away a little bit of the luster from the show. Don't get me wrong, I still tune in occasionally and find some great nuggets in there, and I can still go back and rewatch classic episodes and have my youthful guffaws once again, but The Simpsons simply doesn't work for me as well as it once did. Conversely, Family Guy has become my go-to for late-night comfort food company. Whereas The Simpsons made my entire family laugh, I have other fond memories of being in my freshman dorm after that Super Bowl, howling with laughter in a packed room, experiencing Family Guy for the first time with my college buddies. True story. My pal Jeff laughed so hard he dropped a bottle of carbonated liquid onto his laptop, completely destroying it. That only added to the rest of us laughing at Family Guy and then also Jeff. Sorry, buddy. I can readily acknowledge that Family Guy isn't for everyone and frequently goes way too far in its attempt to be shocking or controversial, but when it hits me in the funny bone, I giggle in ways that no other show has ever been able to produce. And the best part is, it can come from anywhere at any time. It might be Stewie or Brian off on an adventure, or Lois chastising Peter, or any one of the random inhabitants of Quahog stepping into the spotlight on any given Sunday. Let me be crystal clear about this. We don't get Family Guy without The Simpsons. And we probably don't get South Park or Rick and Morty or much else of what modern comedy is without Ned Flanders' Neighbors. But if I need a laugh right now, the show I'm leaning on is Family Guy. It can sometimes annoy me or even off-put me, but a vast majority of the time, it hits me right in the funny bone so hard, I wake up the dog. And she's good at sleeping. Family Guy wins the wild card round, and forevermore can brag that it took a point off The Simpsons. Which is kind of like saying you lost to Michael Jordan in one-on-one, but the score was 11-1. You don't care about losing, but you'll tell that story of getting a point for the rest of your life. And for the record, yes, I actually do slap my knee watching Family Guy. Nothing else has ever conjured that response in me. I laugh so hard, I hit myself. That is doing the job well.
I want to hear more music about pie.
It's a wonderful day for pie.
So there you have it, kids. A sincere thanks to Family Guy for closing it out strong, but it is nonetheless a record win for The Simpsons.
Roadhouse.
We've had a few lopsided versus episodes before, but a 4-1 blowout is uncharted territory. Good on you, dear viewer, for hanging in even when you already knew the outcome. My opinion has been stated, but now it's up to you. Which show do you like better and why? Drop me a line on social media anytime at Mark Ellis Live, or hit us up at Rotten Tomatoes and defend your position. Or just hire Lionel Hutz to represent you in this all-important court of cartoon comedy concoctions. Just be ready when Mr. Kool-Aid pops in. Until next time, I'm Mark Ellis. Who the hell are you?